Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Johnny from Lines and Bow Ties, I guess. How are we doing? It's been a while. I saw a couple movies today in the cinema and I wanted to talk about them for a bit, so vlog. Sorry for the quality not quite being what it used to be. I'm recording off my iPhone. I don't know why I gestured at it, you can't see it, but anyway. I saw two movies today at the cinema. I saw Pan, the new Peter Pan movie, directed by Joe Wright. My laptop's over there. This is completely unscripted. I just got back in again and I need a shave. But yeah, I saw Pan, and I also saw The Martian, directed by Ridley Scott. And one of those movies was much better than the other one. One of them was about this young lad who goes off to this dangerous, desolate planet, but through the wonder of optimism and ingenuity, he gets back alive. The other one's Peter Pan. Okay, I'll start with Pan because I saw that one first and I probably have more to talk about with that one. Okay, Pan is an origin story of Peter Pan. For reference, my history with the Peter Pan institution is very minor. I've not read the book or books. I don't even know if there were several books. That's how ignorant I am of the source material. I've seen the 1950s Disney movie. I watched it quite a few times when I was younger, know it pretty well. I think there was a live-action movie in the 2000s. I saw that one, I think. It's the one with lots and lots of people chanting, "I do believe in fairies, I do, I do." Don't remember what it was called. I remember quite liking it, though. I can't say that for this one, I'm afraid. Okay, spoilers ahead, but okay, instant reaction, Pan, and spoilers for later on in the video. The Martian was really good. The Martian was really, really good. Like, top film of the year sort of material. Really, really good. So, if it's still in cinemas near you, I highly recommend it. But anyway, I'm going to talk about Pan first. There's this young lad called Peter. He gets left at an orphanage by his mother. She leaves a little letter in the crib, and this nun who runs the orphanage, she finds him, takes him in, and then we skip ahead 12 years later to 12-year-old Peter, and he has very little in the way of personality. Like, he's clearly not the smartest or the sportiest or much of anything, really. He was very much Joe Everyboy. Anyway, he's a bit of a scamp, a bit of a troublemaker, I guess. He jumps on the beds, and then when he is fed some porridge or gruel, it might have been, for breakfast, he complained that they usually get bacon. Of course, this movie is set in World War II. I assume from that, "we're at war now" comment is that it was right at the beginning of the Second World War, so it'd been in 1939, which that'll be important later on. But yeah, so yeah, he's a bit of a scamp. And apparently a bunch of the kids have been disappearing because they're being evacuated to the countryside, but Peter doesn't quite buy that explanation. Also, he hates the nuns, and rightly so, frankly. They were atrocious. They seem like villains from a Roald Dahl story. It takes, say, the Trunchbull from Matilda, a little bit of the aunts from James and the Giant Peach, and the orphanage staff from the BFG. I think that was Roald Dahl as well. Wasn't the BFG Roald Dahl? I'm not. Whatever. Essentially, it's like an amalgamation of those characters. They are just horrible pieces of work. There's no even slight attempt to humanise them. Whatever. So Peter breaks into one of their secret stashes because he assumes that they're hiding the rations for themselves. And yeah, he does find that, and he helps himself to some honey and stuff. And then he finds a little treasure chest that has a lot of gold in it. Gold, what's the term? Doubloons? Whatever it was. The big gold coins, big piratey gold coins. And then in the dead of night, some pirates kidnap a lot of the boys. Or at least it looks like they kidnapped them. The nuns have raised the Jolly Roger skull and crossbones flag. And so it's implied that they are selling the kids for gold, which is never brought up again in the rest of the movie, that these nuns are selling children. That's a recurring thing in this movie, but when they get there, they are greeted with a rousing chorus of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana. I did mention that this movie is supposed to take place in 1939. Smells Like Teen Spirit came out in 1991. That there's an anachronism, and then there's 52 years out of date. And what's even funnier, one of the pirates slaps Peter at the back of the head and tells him to sing along, which he somehow does. Again, he knows the lyrics to a song that won't come out for half a century later. But anyway, then we are introduced to Captain Blackbeard, who is the antagonist of the picture, and oh dear lord, it's Hugh Jackman playing him. I would not have guessed. I did not recognise him, so that's a good start, you know. But there's only one acting portrayal I can even think of to compare it to, and that is Count Olaf, played by Jim Carrey in the movie A Series of Unfortunate Events. Personally, I think that's a really underrated film, but I know there's diehard fans of the books who would hate me for saying that. I read the books. I read all of them. I liked them. And the movie's different, but Jim's performance is so good, and the supporting characters, the other supporting cast are good as well. It's like Billy Connolly, Meryl Streep, and all those wonderful deleted scenes with Olaf, which should be part of the movie. Anyway, yeah, Blackbeard is like that, only somehow more hammy and less endearing. And it's like, it's an old metaphor, but it's like watching a train wreck. But painful performance. He's got the younglings that he's kidnapped to mine for pixie dust, fairy dust, because the fairies have been driven to the point of extinction, or they think they're extinct, because Blackbeard was hunting them for the dust. The movie never explicitly says what he was using it for. That's the thing that with this movie in general, not a lot is explained. Or if it was, I didn't catch it. Confession time, I have pretty bad hearing. I always have done. Whenever I have the opportunity, I like to watch movies with subtitles, but when you're in the cinema, that's not always an option, so good mixing is a must, and this movie did not have good mixing at all, especially during the louder sections. It was like some of the season 5, 6 era of Doctor Who, if you watched that show, where the music would essentially just drown out, and the characters are shouting and over the music effectively. But anyway, we meet up with James Hook, who was also a miner there, and of course, Hook, yeah, his name was kept a secret for a little while to have a dramatic reveal. My name is James Hook. He's a bit of a, I don't know, Han Solo-ish type figure. Looked a bit more like Jaime Lannister, but really, really lame. It was like sort of Han Solo by way of Chris Pratt. I don't know. But yeah, they escape with another pirate ship, and they meet up with Tiger Lily, who for some reason is played by a white woman. Painful. In case you don't know, for some reason, Tiger Lily in the usual Peter Pan story is a young Native American girl, like 10 years old, maybe 8, quite young. So in this prequel origin story, she's a woman, full-grown woman, and white. I mean, there's a lot to be said about the racism aspect of Peter Pan. I mean, I'm still partially amazed that the Disney movie got away with as much as it did, but any of the scenes with the Injuns in the 50s Peter Pan movie are kind of awkward and uncomfortable to watch for a modern audience. What makes the red man red and all that. But this movie just erases it mostly. I looked into it on my phone while I was watching the movie because the movie was boring, frankly. The actor who played the chief, and he is Indigenous, of Australia. So he's not a Native American, he's a Native Australian. He's an he's Aborigine. I don't even. Anyway, surprise, Peter's mother was a fighter for the fairies and the Indians, the Native Americans, the natives. That's what the film called them. They just called them the natives. The natives and the fairies were teamed up together in this great war against the pirates, where Peter's mother was originally Blackbeard's wife, girlfriend, romantic interest of some description, but she ended up being with the fairy prince instead, and the fairy prince took human form, but he could only live for one day in human form, and so he copulated with Mrs. Pan, I guess, and so he is the mystical baby of fairies, and this is what inspires him to fight back against the pirates. And up until this point, he's done pretty much nothing in this movie aside from, I'm going to go find my mum. I've got to go find my mum. Because the letter that was left with him as a baby was like, I will see you again in this world or another. And he took that to mean back in Neverland, which turns out to be correct, but Blackbeard killed her. Also, another note about killing in this movie, whenever guns are fired, they've got like big, multicoloured poofs of smoke that come out. I don't understand if that's like some sort of censorship, maybe. It's like if they just shot a dude, then the kids would get sad because a dude was shot with bullets, whereas if we give a coloured poof, it's not so bad. I have no idea. It's kind of like that scene at the end of Kingsman, The Secret Service, where all the heads explode in big colourful mushroom clouds. Nowhere near as endearing, whatever. Yeah, and he can fly sometimes, I guess. The fairy dust is very much the core MacGuffin, I guess, of the film, in that it seems to do whatever it wants at the time of it being on screen. I assumed when they were mining it, I was wondering, why are they mining it? Do they need it to fly the ships? I don't think they do. The ships seem to move quite capably without fairy dust. It looks like it was there was one small scene where he was rejuvenating, where Blackbeard was rejuvenating himself with the fairy dust. So there's that, I guess. Maybe the fairy dust is what keeps Peter young in the extended lore of this film, which is bound to get many sequels. No, this movie has flopped hard at the box office. It could well make its sales back in DVD, but I highly doubt that Warner Brothers is going to be renewing this one. Anyway, after a long set of fight scenes and stuff, he gets the ship. Blackbeard is disposed of by gravity, the classic Disney death. As I said, this wasn't a Disney movie, this was a Warner Brothers movie. Disney already did their live-action reimagining this year with Cinderella, a much better movie. Cinderella was really good. I actually saw this on a poster after I saw the movie. At the top of the poster, you know when it says things like, from the director of, from the producer of, from the assistant director's nephew of. This one actually had the gall to say, from the company that brought you Harry Potter. The company that brought us Harry Potter. None of the talent. Not J.K. Rowling, not Christopher Columbus, not David Yates. No, instead we just have the company. And I can see the parallels. I mean, the young every boy who is suddenly thrust into a magical world and is the chosen one to have a great destiny against some campy evil, I guess. That's just it. He is exactly the young lad that the Lego movie made fun of. He is the chosen. The movie literally says there is a prophecy that there will be a chosen one, and he is the child born of a human mother and an extraterrestrial other, and he comes back as fairy Jesus. And there's one point where the movie actually makes it semi-textual with that. There's a part where I'm going to try and mimic the pose. Essentially, when he was flying, he was a bit like this, like as if his hands were attached to a cross. He didn't do the full, I am a character in a CG computer T-pose. He did the resting elbows pose when he was flying. And the flying's never really explained fully in this movie. I think it assumes that you're at least vaguely familiar with it, because the happy thoughts thing is only mentioned at the very end as the I'm killing the villain one-liner. Like it's some sort of 80s action movie. He just flies up with the fairies in a big trail behind him, and he's like, think any happy little thought, and just blasts the fairies at him. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and the movie ends with him abducting all of the remaining orphans from the orphanage and taking them on as pirates or to-be lost boys or something like that. And the moral of the story is abducting kids is okay when you're one of them. I don't know. I don't know what the moral was supposed to be for this movie. It's a mess, frankly. The CG is all over the place. The pacing is ridiculous. The score's forgettable. There are odd bits of good in there, sure. If you put it in front of a 3-year-old, they could be entertained by it, I guess, but you could do so much better, frankly. Especially if you just go with the Disney version from half a century ago. Anyway, that's enough talking about that. I've been recording this for 19 minutes already, good lord. Okay, The Martian. This one's not going to have as much to talk about because the plot is much simpler. In The Martian, it starts with a crew who have gone to Mars. They're the NASA crew, astronauts, and a freak sandstorm, essentially, a weather incident. It looks like a sandstorm anyway. It's a Mars dust storm, I guess. Comes on, and it's a lot worse than they expected it to be, and so they abort the mission and they get out of there as quick as they can. Except one guy gets left behind due to circumstances. And the remainder of the movie is about him trying to survive on his own on the surface of Mars, and then the people on Earth trying to get him back again. That's the basic principle of the movie, and it's just on top form throughout. It's it's the ultimate paradox, really. I've rattled on about Peter Pan for 15 to 20 minutes because of how bad it is. This movie, I don't have as much to say. It's really good. It's like the directing. I mean, say what you like about Ridley Scott's recent filmography, because he has had a really spotty film career. Like, he's had really, really great movies, and he's also had really, really not good movies. But pretty much consistently, he's at least got aesthetics right. That's one thing that he pretty much always nails, is the look, the feel of the worlds that he creates, and this movie is no exception. It's a stunning movie, and the sound is wonderful as well. What's his name? Blast! It's the chap who composed a bunch of the Metal Gear Solid soundtracks. Harry Gregson Williams, something like that. If I'm right or wrong, I'll put an annotation down here. But yeah, it's really good. Matt Damon as the titular Martian, really good. I don't think I've ever seen him act that well before. I mean, I've not seen a massive number of Matt Damon films, but he was really good. And way more optimistic than I would ever have thought somebody in that situation would be. But I think that's probably what makes him so endearing, really. It's baffling. The two movies that I saw today is that the movie with the most optimism, the most drive to succeed in horrible, dire circumstances is not the Peter Pan movie. I mean, wasn't Peter Pan all about the refuge of childhood silliness against a cruel world of boring adultness? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's... What else have I got to mention from it? Also, science. Science is amazing. This movie is all about sciencing. There's so much science in this movie. And the movie sometimes even phrases it that way. Matt Damon's character, he's like, the only way I'm going to survive on this planet is to science the shit out of everything. And he makes this little potato farm inside the I don't know the terms, inside the little settlement that he had, inside the container that he had, and he was able to he converted some materials he had into water, and I don't want to rattle on too much about this movie. That's the thing. I don't mind spoiling a bad movie. I'm telling you to not go see the bad movie. But it's just so neat, and there's so many just really smart people. And there's a thing with technobabble where it can be done well, but a lot of times it feels really forced, like it's trying to just hand wave the problem away. It's I am reversing the polarity of the neutron flow. Doctor Who again, but you know what I mean. Even Ridley Scott isn't immune to this. I'm pretty certain most Alien fans remember a line about molecular acid. But anyway, this movie, from what I hear, they did their research. They contacted actual NASA staff, experts on the field, about how to go about writing this and what potential problems there could be. And obviously it is still a science fiction film. It still has elements that are beyond our current scientific understanding, but apparently it's more grounded. It's more things that could be likely in the near future, kind of thing, rather than, say, Star Wars. What else What else have I got to mention about that one? I think I'm running out of things to say on it, really. Just give more money to NASA. There we go. That's what the movie is pretty much about. The movie could have been this horror show of, how dangerous it is. Man was never supposed to go there. But it's not. It's surprisingly light-hearted. It's got a fun soundtrack too. A bunch of 70s music. But, yeah, most of the core... Well, most of the core drama, aside from trying to escape a cold and desolate planet, is more to do with NASA's PR at home. It's like, how can they spin this? How can they ensure that they can get money? How can they get guarantees for things to get more missions to Mars? And there's one bit about halfway through the film, or 2/3 of the way through, where China gets involved as well. And they're like, why did they not ask us? Why didn't they ask us for help? Which was very amusing. From my understanding of it, that's probably the most fantastical part of the film, that China and America could get on with space travel together, but that's beyond my realm of knowledge, so I'm not going to comment on that. Anyway, I've prattled on for long enough. I am absolutely exhausted. Anyway, yeah, this has been Johnny from Lions and Bow Ties. Go see The Martian. Don't see Pan. Good evening, guys.